You ever laid eyes on something that did seem to belong in this world anymore, like it had been chewed up, spit out, and left behind by the heavens themselves? That is what Mary Ellen saw that morning, and it was the middle of July, the kind of heat that makes the old veranda groan under your boots, makes the air shimmer like it's guarding secrets. The grit still clung thick from last night's storm, and everything was quiet, too quiet. Mary Ellen had just stepped out to check the damage on her front fence when she spotted it, or rather him, lying near the far edge of her land, face buried in the dirt, boots torn, shirt ripped nearly to rags, like he'd been dragged through hellfire and tossed back out, a man, not moving. At first she thought it was a body, maybe some drifter caught in the storm, maybe worse. But something in her gut told her feet to move closer. She'd been rooted to this land outside Denton, Texas for more than 20 years, lost her husband in a cattle stampede, a broken neck, outlived neighbors who packed up and drifted off, buried more animals than she cared to count. She wasn't afraid of bodies. She was afraid of what solitude does to a soul. When she reached him, she saw blood crusted into his hairline, caked across his knuckles, grit ground so deep into his skin it looked like stone. But he was breathing barely, and Mary Ellen, despite every warning echoing in her head, every newspaper headline about outlaws and drifters and lowlifes, she did what no one else in town would have dared. She dragged the broken man up to her veranda, one boot at a time, sweating, cursing, whispering prayer under her breath. She laid him inside her cabin, on the same old couch where her husband once napped on slow afternoons, back when life still carried music in it. She did even know his name. All she knew was something in the way he clung to life made her believe. This one's just another drifter swept in from the storm. She fetched water, boiled old cloths for bandage, wiped the blood from his brow. And then she waited for him to open his eyes, or maybe never wake at all. But when he finally did, what stared back at her wasn't just a man, it was a storm, wearing human skin. He didn't speak for the first few hours, just laid there on her couch, eyes half closed, breathing like every inhale cost him something. Mary Ellen sat across the room, hands folded in her lap, pretending to knit. But she was fooling anyone. Not even herself. She was watching him, the way a hawk studies something it does, quite trust, but can't turn away from either. The kettle hissed on the stove. The old floorboards creaked when the wind pressed against the cabin wall. Time stretched out thin, like taffy left in the sun. Finally, just as the horizon began bleeding orange with sunset, he spoke. "Where am I?" His voice was rough, ragged, like it hadn't been used in days or longer. "You were in my cabin," Mary Ellen said, calm but firm. "In Denton, Texas, you came crawling out of the grit like some phantom looking for a place to die." He blinked slow, confusion clouding his face. She handed him a chipped mug of water, watched him drink it like it was the first clean drop he'd had in years. Then came the question she'd been chewing on for hours. "What is your name?" A pause. Then softly, "Ethan. Just Ethan. No last name. No story. Just a name hanging in the air like smoke." He tried to sit up, but pain struck hard. His hand clutched at his ribs. Mary Ellen rushed over. Not out of fear, but instinct. She'd patched up horses in worse shape than him. As she checked the bandages, she noticed his hands, calloused, scarred, not just from labor but from something darker, something he wasn't ready to share. "You got enemies out there?" she asked, eyes on his bruised ribs. Another pause. "Don, we all?" Not the answer she wanted, but the one she expected. The room fell quiet again, except for cicadas buzzing outside like the world did. Care what happened inside that little cabin, but Mary Ellen cared. And as the sky turned dark, she knew one thing for sure. Whatever storm Ethan had come from, he was done running. The morning sun showed no mercy. It came up fast, heavy, beating down on the front yard, until it felt brittle and angry. Mary Ellen stepped onto the veranda with coffee in hand. Her gaze drifted across the horizon, same as every morning since her husband passed. But today something was off. She felt it before she saw it. A horse and a rider. Doyle Carter. He rode up slow, the kind of slow that twists your gut. Dusty hat, yellow grin, a smirk that never meant anything good. He sniffed around Mary Ellen before like a mutt too dumb to keep its distance. But today he was smiling for flirt. He leaned on his saddle horn, eyes sliding toward the front door. Well, he said, spitting grit. "You got company now, huh?" Behind her, the cabin door creaked open. "Ethan," Still bruised, still healing, but standing tall, shirt half unbuttoned, desert wind tugging at him like it wanted to claim him. Doyle, smirk faltered. Hell, he muttered. Thought I knew that face. Mary Ellen's fingers tightened on her coffee mug. You were the son of a gun from New Mexico, ain't you? Doyle spat again, louder. The bar shooting? 4 dead. You vanished. Posters went up with your face on. Folks said you were a ghost. Ethan stepped forward, slow, steady, like thunder rolling before rain. I ain't the man they were hunting, he said, voice low. But if you came here to start something, best do it now. Doyle's mouth twitched. But he did dismount. Did draw? He yanked the reins and turned. Rode off quick like the devil himself, might change his mind if he lingered. Mary Ellen did speak, but in that silence, something shifted. She didn't know who Ethan really was, but she knew one thing: he was running anymore, and if trouble came, he'd face it head on. By the time noon heat rolled in, grit hung thick as smoke. Mary Ellen had just finished hanging the last sheet when she heard it. Hooves, not 1 horse, 3. Doyle was back, and this time he brought company. 2 hard-eyed boys, one with a scar running down his neck, the other twitching at the handle of his pistol, itching for trouble. Mary Ellen stepped off the veranda, wiping her hands on her apron. What do you want, Doyle? She asked, steady voice, but inside her stomach flipped. He smirked. Just passing through, thought we'd say howdy. Maybe ask your friend in there a few more questions? Ethan stepped into view. No shirt now, just bandages, bruises, and a look in his eyes that could cut through bone. The air went heavy. Then the scarred boy stepped forward, grinning. Man like you's got no business hiding out here, he sneered. Folks back in New Mexico still whisper your name like it is death itself. Wrong words. Ethan moved faster than a blink. A punch. A boot to the gut. The third man collapsed, groaning, face swelling already. Doyle reached for his gun, but Mary Ellen was quicker. She didn't shout, flinch. She just cocked the shotgun resting behind the door. The sound cracked louder than thunder. Doyle froze. His hand hovered, then fell. Ethan stepped close, voice low and cold. Tell the rest of what you saw here. Tell I ain't hiding, but I sure as hell ain't running. Doyle spat, nodded once. Then he and his boys backed away, slow, like hounds caught stealing meat. That night, the sheriff himself showed up. He held out a slip of paper, an official letter. Ethan read it, handed it to Mary Ellen. Wrong man's been running, the sheriff said. We got the real one. Turns out this fella here, he saved a woman during that bar shooting. Even took a bullet for her. Mary Ellen did say a word, just reached out, took Ethan's hand in hers. Something shifted in the air. The storm had passed, but another was building. The next morning came quiet, no storms, no wind, just the sound of birds. The smell of coffee. Ethan sat on the steps, carving a small wooden horse with his pocket knife. Mary Ellen stepped out, wrapped in her shawl, hair loose for the first time in years. They did speak at first. Sometimes the best words are the ones left unsaid. Then Ethan looked up, his voice calm, steady, different somehow. I've been running too long, he said, looking for something that did feel like a lie. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a silver ring, scratched, worn. I ain't got much, he said softly, but I've got my word, and I've got you, if you'll have me. Mary Ellen did cry. Her tears had run dry years ago, but she smiled, one of those tired, gentle smiles that carried 1,000 storms. Come inside, Ethan, she whispered. You were home now. And just like that, the grit did feel so heavy anymore. It was a fairy tale. The bad hadn't vanished, but it was real. And it was theirs, the kind of ending folks forget is possible. Maybe life ain't about starting fresh. Maybe it is about choosing to stop running and planting your feet long enough for something good to grow. If this story stirred something inside you, let us know. What would you have done? Standing in Mary Ellen's shoes, would you take in a broken man with a good heart or turn him away? Is love at 40 still brave? Is redemption real even if it comes too late? Tell us below. We read every word, and if you want more stories like this, tales of grit, second chances, and hearts that dawn, quit easy, hit that like button, subscribe, because the West still has stories left.